Every single afternoon, in tens of thousands of locations around the world, one of the most profitable retailers on earth takes its own product and throws it in the garbage. Pastries, sandwiches, whole urns of brewed coffee poured down the drain on a timer, tons of perishable inventory, manufactured fresh that morning and declared worthless by lunch. And the company does this on purpose. Every day, forever. So how does a company that destroys its own inventory every afternoon become worth more than $100 billion? The answer is that Starbucks stopped selling coffee a long time ago, somewhere along the way. It turned itself into a real estate empire, a behavioral laboratory, and this is the part nobody tells you, a bank that you joined without ever signing up. This is Market Cap Stories. Today, how Starbucks became a bank. Let's start with the thing in your hand, because the coffee itself is almost a rounding error. The green commodity bean that Starbucks roasts is, at wholesale, one of the cheapest agricultural inputs in any consumer business on the planet. Estimated cost structure of a $5 Starbucks latte. Green coffee, $0.2, $0.4. Milk cup lid sleeve $0.5 is $0.8. The bean is a single-digit % input. The actual cost of the coffee inside a $5 latte is somewhere between 20 and 40 cents. The milk, the cup, the lid, the cardboard sleeve cost more than the coffee. The single most expensive ingredient in your drink is not in the drink at all. It is the rent on the floor you are standing on and the wage of the person who handed it to you. This is the first thing to understand. Starbucks does not have a coffee problem or a coffee advantage. Anyone can buy the bean. Anyone can buy the espresso machine. The bean is a commodity, and a commodity cannot, by definition, build a $100 billion moat. So the question that should haunt every MBA looking at this company is the obvious one. If the product is cheap, interchangeable, and perishable within hours, what exactly are you paying for? Howard Schultz, the man who built modern Starbucks, answered that question in 1983. He did not answer it in a coffee field in Colombia. He answered it in a coffee bar in Milan. Schultz walked into an Italian espresso bar and had what he later described as a near-religious experience, not about the coffee, but about the room, the standing, the regulars, the barista who knew your name, the theater of it. He flew home, convinced that what Americans were missing was not better coffee. It was a place to be. So Schultz built a company that sells coffee. The way Costco sells rotisserie chicken as the thing that gets you in the door, the coffee is the ticket. What you are actually buying is admission to a carefully engineered environment designed to do one thing, make you come back tomorrow and the day after and the day after that. Starbucks has a name for this environment. Internally and in the academic literature, it borrowed the idea from, it is called the third place. The third place, sociologist Ray Oldenburg, first place equals home, second place equals work, third place equals the social anchor between them. Starbucks weaponized the concept into a retail format. The concept comes from a sociologist named Ray Oldenburg. The first place is your home. The second place is your work. The third place is the neutral social ground in between the pub, the barbershop, the corner cafe, where you are neither family nor employee, just a regular. Oldenburg argued these places are the connective tissue of community. Schultz read that and saw a business model. Every design element you have ever noticed in a Starbucks is in service of this. The dim, warm lighting that flatters and relaxes, the deliberately imperfect, slightly worn furniture that signals permanence and welcome rather than fast food turnover. The free Wi-Fi that invites you to stay for hours. The bathrooms, the outlets at the tables, the music curated centrally and piped to every store to set a single consistent mood across 40,000 locations. None of this is accidental and none of it is generous. Every one of those comforts is a retention mechanism. The longer you stay, the more the store imprints as your place. And a place that is yours is a place you return to without deciding to. Starbucks is not competing for your coffee dollar. It is competing for a slot in your daily geography a fixed coordinate between home and work that your body navigates to on autopilot. Here is the uncomfortable part for the MBA in the room. The third place is real social science. Oldenburg was describing something genuinely good for human beings. The places where loneliness goes to die. Starbucks took that need, industrialized it, standardized it, and put a cash register in the middle of it. It did not invent the human hunger for a third place. It found it the way Sol Price found bulk buying, and then it monetized the longing. But a place is not enough. A place gets you to come back. Occasionally, Starbucks needs you to come back every single day. And for that, it relies on something far older and far darker than interior design. It relies on chemistry. Caffeine, the world's most widely consumed psychoactive drug, physically habit-forming. Withdrawal, headache, fatigue, irritability begins 12 to 24 hours after the last dose. The morning cup is not a craving, it is a correction. Let's be precise about what coffee actually is. Caffeine is a psychoactive stimulant. It is by a wide margin the most widely consumed mood-altering drug on the planet, and critically, it is physically habit-forming. Your brain adapts to a daily dose by growing more of the very receptors caffeine blocks. So after a few weeks of a daily cup, skipping it does not just leave you unenergized. It gives you a headache, fatigue, irritability, withdrawal. Read that again. In business terms, the morning cup is not primarily a pleasure purchase for the daily drinker. It is a correction. You are not buying a treat. You are dosing to feel normal. Starbucks sits at the exact intersection of a physical dependency and a daily commute. It has placed itself on the route between your bed and your desk precisely at the moment your brain is chemically demanding the thing it sells. Now layer the ritual on top of the chemistry. Behavioral psychologists describe a habit loop, a cue, a routine, a reward. The cue is the morning, the commute, the smell of the store. The routine is the order. And Starbucks deliberately encourages you to make it yours, not a latte. My order, the grande, oat milk, 2 pump, extra hot, a personal incantation. You repeat until the words themselves become identity, and the reward is triple stacked. First, the chemical relief of the caffeine. Second, the social reward. Your name called out, your order known. Third, and this is the modern edition, the dopamine hit of the rewards app. Stars accumulating, a progress bar filling, a free drink dangling just a few visits away. Starbucks did not just build a cafe. It built a habit formation machine and wired a loyalty game directly into the reward circuit. The craving you feel is the product. The coffee is just the delivery mechanism. Now we get to the second hidden business, because a habit needs a location, and locations are where Starbucks does something that looks, from the outside, like madness. Store density strategy. Starbucks deliberately opens new stores close enough to existing ones to cannibalize their sales, knowingly reducing each store's individual revenue. You have seen it. 2 Starbucks on the same block, one across the street from another, a Starbucks inside the grocery store, 200 feet from the freestanding Starbucks in the parking lot to a normal retailer. This is insane. You are opening a store that steals customers from your own existing store. The industry even has a word for it: cannibalization, and most companies treat it as a disaster to be avoided. Starbucks does it on purpose. And in the 1990s, under Schultz and his real estate chief, it did it aggressively enough that Wall Street analysts openly questioned whether the company was destroying itself. Each new store visibly lowered the sales of the stores around it. How could that possibly be the strategy? Here is the logic, and it is brutal. First, density makes the brand unavoidable. If there is a Starbucks on every corner, then getting coffee and getting Starbucks become the same verb. In the customer's mind, you do not choose Starbucks. It is simply the one that is there. Ubiquity kills the deliberation that a competitor needs in order to win. Why cannibalize on purpose 1. Ubiquity makes coffee mean Starbucks. 2. Total. Area sales rise even as per-store sales fall. 3. Saturation starves competitors of viable corners. 4. Shorter lines protect the daily habit. Second, and this is the part the analysts missed, cannibalization lowers the sales of any single store, but it raises the total sales of the entire area. 2 stores, each doing 70% of one store's volume, is 140% of the revenue from the same neighborhood. You have not split a pie, you have grown it by capturing the customers who would not cross the street, would not wait in the longer line, would not walk the extra block. Third, every corner Starbucks takes is a corner a competitor cannot have. Real estate in prime high-foot traffic locations is finite. By saturating a market with its own stores, Starbucks starves every rival of the very locations they would need to build a competing habit. It is the same move Standard Oil made with refineries and Costco made with margin. Occupy the ground so completely that no one else can stand on it, which means the real estate function inside Starbucks is not a support department. It is the company. Starbucks runs one of the most sophisticated site selection operations in all of retail, modeling foot traffic, commute patterns, demographics, and the location of every competitor, every rival cafe, down to the corner. It is functionally a commercial real estate firm that finances its property empire by selling a legally addictive beverage to the foot traffic it has already mapped. And now we arrive at the secret at the center of the whole machine, the one almost nobody outside finance has ever noticed. Starbucks is a bank. Here is how it works, and once you see it, you will never unsee it. To use the Starbucks app, to earn the stars, to skip the line, to pay by phone, you first load money onto it. You reload $25, $50, $100 from your bank account into your Starbucks balance. You hand Starbucks your cash today for coffee you have not yet bought and might not buy for weeks. Multiply that by tens of millions of customers. At any given moment, Starbucks is sitting on somewhere between $1 and $2 billion of customer money loaded onto cards and apps that has not yet been spent. That money is not Starbucks' revenue, not yet. It is a liability on the balance sheet. It is, in plain language, customer deposits. Starbucks is holding your money for free. Estimated stored value gift cards plus app balances held by Starbucks, $1.2 billion at any given time. This exceeds the deposit base of many small and mid-sized U.S. banks. Let that figure detonate for a second. $1 to $2 billion in stored customer cash is larger than the total deposits of a great many actual chartered FDIC regulated banks in the United States, except Starbucks is not a bank. It has no banking license. It pays you no interest on your deposit. It faces none of the capital requirements, the reserve rules, the regulatory burden that a real bank must carry to hold your money. It just holds it, and it gets better because some of that money is never spent at all. Cards get lost. Balances of 47 cents sit forgotten forever. Apps get abandoned. In accounting, this unspent, never to be redeemed balance is called breakage. And after a legally defined period, Starbucks gets to recognize it as pure revenue, money customers handed over for coffee that will never be poured. It runs in the range of $100+ million a year in recognized breakage alone. So here is the full structure of the float. 1. Customers hand Starbucks $1 to $2 billion in advance. Interest free. 2. Starbucks holds that cash, earning interest on it or deploying it for its own purposes while it waits to be spent. 3. A meaningful slice is never spent at all and becomes free revenue for the same app that collects The float also runs the loyalty game that drives the daily habit, that fills the stores, that justify the real estate. Every piece feeds every other piece. This is why a serious analyst who looks at Starbucks does not see a coffee company. He sees a payments platform with a deposit base, a loyalty-driven float, and a beverage business bolted on the front as the reason anyone loads the card in the first place. The cup is the decoy. The float is the asset. Let me draw the whole machine in one loop, because once you see how the pieces feed each other, the $100 billion valuation stops being a mystery. The Starbucks flywheel. 1. Manufacture a daily chemical habit, caffeine plus ritual. 2. Saturate prime real estate so the habit is unavoidable. 3. Drive every habit through the app via the rewards game. 4. App requires preloaded cash, thiffen interest-free float. 5. Float plus breakage funds expansion and earns on the side. 6. Expansion adds density study, more habit, more app users. 7. Loop. 1. Manufacture a daily habit, chemical dependency plus social ritual plus a named order. That becomes identity. 2. Saturate the prime real estate so that habit is physically unavoidable. A Starbucks always within reach of where the habit fires. 3. Funnel every one of those daily transactions through the app by making the rewards game the most convenient, most rewarding way to pay for the app. Requires you to preload cash, generating $1 to $2 billion of interest-free float plus breakage. 5. That float and the predictable cash flow the habit produces funds aggressive expansion and earns a return while it sits. 6. Expansion adds density. Density makes the brand even more unavoidable, which deepens the habit and recruits more app users who load more cash. 7. Loop. Forever, or at least until the loop breaks. Notice what the coffee does in this entire diagram. Almost nothing. It is the reason you walk in the door, the ticket, the dose, the ritual object, but the value is created in the real estate, in the habit, and in the float. You came for a drink, you became a depositor in an unregulated bank with a caffeine subscription. You cannot easily quit. At this point, the sharp MBA question is the one about growth. A flywheel this powerful only stays valuable if it keeps spinning faster. So where does the next 100 billion come from? For 2 decades, the answer was one word: China. China, Starbucks' designated growth engine. Thousands of stores, aggressive expansion targets. The bet: build the daily coffee habit in a historically tea-drinking culture before a local rival does. The China bet is audacious precisely because China did not have a coffee habit. It had a tea culture thousands of years deep. Starbucks looked at that and saw not a wall, but a blank slate, a billion-plus people who had not yet been taught the morning ritual. So it set out to manufacture the habit from scratch, 1/3 place at a time, racing to occupy the prime corners of every major Chinese city before anyone else could. But here, the flywheel met a problem. That money alone could not crush a homegrown rival. Luckin Coffee attacked the exact mechanism Starbucks relied on, except it weaponized the app even harder, sold coffee at brutal discounts, and built density through tiny pickup only stores at a speed Starbucks could not match. Luckin imploded in an accounting fraud, then rose again from the ashes, and today operates more stores in China than Starbucks does. The lesson is the one every dominant company eventually learns. A flywheel is not a moat. The habit, the density, the float, all of it can be copied by a competitor willing to spin the same wheel faster, cheaper, and closer to the ground. So what actually threatens the $100 billion machine? 3 forces, 3 structural threats. 1, the death of the 3rd place. Mobile order strips out the room. 2, labor cost and unionization pressure. 3, regulation of stored value, float, and breakage. First, and this is the deepest irony, Starbucks may be killing its own 3rd place. The mobile order, the drive-through, the grab and go, the very app that captures the float also lets the customer skip the room entirely if everyone orders ahead and grabs the cup off a shelf. The warm lighting and the worn armchairs become an expensive, empty stage. The company spent 40 years building a place to be and then built an app that makes the place irrelevant. Second, labor. The entire experience depends on a human behind the counter, one who knows your name, makes the drink right, keeps the line moving. But baristas are increasingly organizing, demanding higher wages and better conditions, and labor is the single largest controllable cost in every store. Squeeze the worker and you degrade the third place, pay the worker, and you compress the margin. The whole valuation rests on third, regulation. That $1 to $2 billion float sits in a legal gray zone. Right now, Starbucks holds customer cash like a bank without the rules of a bank. As the app economy grows and regulators wake up to how much money these stored value programs hold, the rules could tighten. Reserve requirements, consumer protections, limits on breakage recognition. The day the float gets regulated like the deposit base it actually is the day one of Starbucks's quietest profit engines gets a governor bolted onto it. The cup of coffee in your hand is by itself a $5 product with 40 cents of bean in it, but it encodes one of the most complete business machines ever assembled in plain sight, a chemical habit dressed as a ritual, a real estate empire disguised as a cafe, and a bank you joined the day you loaded the app, holding your money interest-free and quietly keeping whatever you forget to spend. Starbucks doctrine: sell the cheapest possible product as the ticket. Build the habit, own the corner, and hold the customer's cash before they ever drink it. In a market full of companies trying to sell you something, Starbucks figured out how to make you pay it first. Come back daily and call the whole arrangement your favorite place. One cup at a time. If this is the kind of strategic anatomy you find useful, subscribe to Market Cap Stories. We will see you in the next case. Yes, in closing, no cadence promise.